the reason I think that this is an opportunity for Bitcoin, assuming I am wrong about Bitcoin. I don't assume that, but there are a lot of people like you who assume that I'm wrong. I do believe that historically I could go down as the most wrong person on Bitcoin. I think right now within the Bitcoin community, I am the single best known Bitcoin critic. And I even asked ChatGPT, who is the biggest, most well-known Bitcoin critic in the Bitcoin community? And it said Peter Schiff.
Known by many as the biggest Bitcoin critic in the world, Peter Schiff, financial commentator, chief global strategist of Euro-Pacific Capital, and a radio personality, is finally using Bitcoin. Peter always said Bitcoin was going to zero, had no value, and was just pure speculation. Now with the entry of Bitcoin Ordinals, which allow people to create NFTs on the Bitcoin blockchain, his mind is opening to the possibilities. In today's video, we will hear his opinion on this. If Bitcoin is getting embraced by the worst haters, imagine what will happen when it's used seriously by people who love it and by people who have never heard about it before. First, a quick comparison between gold versus Bitcoin. You can hear the hate in his words, but in a few minutes, you can also hear his opinion changing.
It isn't digital gold, right? So it's got nothing to do with gold. But yeah, gold did go on to make an all-time high. It got above 2,000 after we spoke. Bitcoin didn't come near making another all-time high. The record high in Bitcoin is close to 70,000. And so even though Bitcoin had a big recovery from that 10,000 level, it did not recover to new highs like gold did. And gold today at around 1,970 is very close to its record high. It's not that far below it. So if you bought gold at an all-time record high, you're not losing that much money. But if you bought Bitcoin at an all-time record high, you've lost more than half your money. So they're very different types of assets. I think going forward, gold is going to shine as a store of value, as a monetary alternative to fiat currencies. And I think Bitcoin is going to be seen in a different light. I think that Bitcoin is a speculative digital token that rose and fell and rose and fell. But I don't think it ultimately has anything to do with gold, despite the fact that some people have confused it for some digital form of gold. Bitcoin rallied just like the NASDAQ rallied. A lot of stocks are higher than they were when we spoke a couple of years ago. The interesting thing, though, is recently, like last month, for example, you had a huge month. The NASDAQ was up about 6%. The NASDAQ 100 was up 8%, and Bitcoin got clobbered last month. So it's kind of decoupled from the NASDAQ. And so if Bitcoin's not going to go up with the NASDAQ and it's not going to go up with gold, then what's it going to go up with? Maybe nothing. Maybe it's just going to start going down. But, I wanted to talk to you, and I reached out to you too about, the Bitcoin community is now like real excited because they think I joined the club. No, I mean, there's a degree of speculation in just about everything. I just think that the degree that there's speculation in Bitcoin is much higher because, Bitcoin is all speculation. It's 100% speculation because there's nothing actually there beyond the speculation.
Or
right?
the
So
strongest computer.
you have other things that are less speculative. I mean, gold stocks, there are many things that you speculate on when you choose to buy a gold mining company. In addition to what happens to the price of gold, that's just one aspect of it. There are a lot of other risks that are inherent in operating a gold mine, right? So all of those risks are going to weigh on the ultimate value or price of a gold stock. So you can't invest in gold stocks unless you are comfortable assuming those risks and speculating on all these various outcomes that may or may not happen that would result in a gain in that stock. But Bitcoin, it's all speculation. There is nothing to fall back on that is not speculative. And so gold has a lot less risk than a gold mining stock, right? Because the only risk you have really, if you own physical gold and you have it in your house, the only risk you really have, other than the fact that you could lose it, which is you could or somebody could steal it from you, right? But it's the price. Will the price go up? Will the price go down? I mean, the price of gold can go up and you could lose 100% in your gold mine, right? So, there are a lot of aspects there. But that's why, when I tell people should invest in gold stocks, diversify, hire an expert. That's, when I formed my gold fund, I didn't even manage it. I hired a guy that knew more about it than me, right? Adrian Day. I mean, I know enough to buy gold. I know enough to invest in gold stocks, but I don't know enough to know which ones are the best, especially when it comes to the junior miners. And so I want to hire a guy that does nothing but analyze these stocks and is very familiar with the managements and the projects. And, Adrian's been doing this 30, 40 years. And so to the extent that you want to speculate on gold stocks, and to me, I think it's a great speculation. I think the risk reward, and that's always what you want to look at. Whenever you're speculating, you want to try to balance, okay, if I'm right, how much can I make? If I'm wrong, what can I lose? And try to figure out the possibility, assign a probability of success versus failure, and kind of weigh the expected outcome, the return. And I think on a risk reward basis, the amount of money that you can make in the mining sector, if I'm right about what's going to happen, is so skewed relative to what you could lose, that it's a great speculation to make. That doesn't mean you can't lose. You can. But I just think the probabilities and the potential skewed reward to risk is worth it if you can afford. We have other investments, right? I manage money for people in just basic dividend paying foreign stocks that I think are also good inflation hedges. They don't have as much upside as a gold stock portfolio, but they have significantly less downside. And in the short run, they'll pay more income. You'll get higher dividends, which also offsets the risk because you're getting compensated with current income that you can use. So, and a way that people can kind of figure out, a portfolio is by speaking with my reps, talking to the people at Europe Pacific Asset Management about what type of portfolio is going to best suit you based on your own individual objectives and risk tolerance. But everybody needs to do something because inflation is a huge risk. And mitigating that risk, I think, is the single most important thing any investor can do. Recognizing how high inflation is going to be, how long it's going to persist, and making the appropriate changes to your portfolio to guard against that risk. And that's why, again, I would encourage your audience to contact us and look into how that you can incorporate these strategies into your portfolio, even if you have some of your money in Bitcoin, because that's another risk that you have to hedge, because you need to worry about the fact that I could be right and your Bitcoin could be headed for zero.
Why is Peter Schiff now a Bitcoiner?
So I'm not a Bitcoiner in that I'm under the delusion that Bitcoin is some digital version of gold, right? But what I am doing, and it's interesting that the people in the Bitcoin community are so desperate for my approval. It's like that anything I do, any little thing I do in the direction of Bitcoin gets blown out of proportion, right? Because it's like you guys are a bunch of little kids trying to win, my approval, right? You need that from me, right? Which, okay, is fine. I get it, But so look, a good buddy of mine who's a very talented artist, who is a neighbor of mine in Puerto Rico. I've known him for years. He's a big Bitcoin guy from way back. So he's one of the most successful Bitcoin guys as far as having a very, very large net worth, in part because of having gotten into Bitcoin early. Right? And that's what a lot of the people I've met, in Puerto Rico that live in my neighborhood, a lot of these guys got into Bitcoin early, and that's why they've got so much money. Now, that's not the only reason. Some of them, they made money in other endeavors, but they also made a lot of money in Bitcoin. So he made a lot of money, and he's always, had some Bitcoin element in his art. He tries to incorporate Bitcoin stuff in a lot of his artwork. We were playing around with how to incorporate Bitcoin into it, but we never really, you put the Bitcoin itself in the art. But he's doing a show in New York, which you could go buy it. I think they opened today, the show. It's the gallery is on Madison Avenue. And it's going to be going through, I think, June. and his work is on display. But we put that painting that he did for me on display. And I said, okay, let's sell it. Let's auction it off. Anybody who wants to buy this Peter Schiff gold painting, it's, I didn't paint it, market price paint it. We're both going to sign it. But we also decided to come out with a series of prints, 50 individually numbered prints. So if you can't buy the original oil painting, but you want to have one of these prints that's signed by me and the artist, you can get that. But we're going to use Bitcoin. We're going to use the Ordinals, which are the Bitcoin's version of an Ethereum NFT. And I'm going to try to incorporate Bitcoin into this piece by using the Bitcoin blockchain as a way to authenticate the original genuine status of these prints, to the extent that anyone who owns one wants to sell it, the buyer can have a way of authenticating that it's not a counterfeit, that this is the actual print because it corresponds to this ordinal, right? And I can track the ownership of this print from day one and know, okay, yes, you are the original owner and I'm buying it from you, or I'm buying it from somebody who bought it from the original owner. And so you don't have to worry about the fact that you're buying some kind of fake. And so trying to find a way to use blockchain in a way that actually adds some type of value. What that means a Satoshi is worth, I got no idea. Okay. I don't think it's worth anything near where it currently is, but I'm going to incorporate it. And the reason I think that this is an opportunity for Bitcoin, assuming I am wrong about Bitcoin, I don't assume that, but there are a lot of people like you who assume that I'm wrong. I do believe that historically I could go down as the most wrong person on Bitcoin. I think right now within the Bitcoin community, I am the single best known Bitcoin critic. And I even asked ChatGPT, who is the biggest, most well-known Bitcoin critic in the Bitcoin community? And it said Peter Schiff. If Bitcoin replaces gold, and I am the biggest gold bug, if Bitcoin succeeds, and I'm the most well-known early critic of Bitcoin, to have the only work of art that I commissioned, or the first, because obviously I can do it again, but to have the first work of art that I commissioned and the first set of ordinals, or any ordinal that I did and I put on a blockchain, if any of these things are going to have value in the future, if anybody's, NFT or ordinal, if anybody is going to create something that has value, it's going to be this. Because I'm basically saying in your face, Bitcoin, I'm basically holding up this bar gold. It's not my arm. It's just a symbolic arm that is holding gold up in victory. Now, what if it turns out that I was wrong? Here is this old guy claiming that gold is supreme and it was just around the corner and it was destroyed by Bitcoin. And so here is something to commemorate, the holdout or whatever. So I think it could have some value, but also, even if I'm completely right about Bitcoin and it goes away, the original work of art, forget the ordinal, because I'm not selling the ordinals. The ordinals are a freebie. You get that for free. I'm just selling a print. That's all. So at the end of the day, you've got a signed print. My signature is on it. What's my signature going to be worth on that print in 100 years? What's the artist's signature going to be worth? I don't know. What's that original going to be worth? I don't know. It could have a lot of value, right? So there's a speculative element in there. But I'm just giving Bitcoiners an opportunity to own one of these things and decide whether or not they think that. Because I remember when people started selling their tweets, I never actually took time to sell anybody, but there was some fool that offered to pay several $1,000s for one of my anti-Bitcoin tweets. I never actually bothered to sell it, because I just didn't feel like, doing what I needed to do to get the money.
So Peter Schiff went from saying Bitcoin had no value to now using it to authenticate ownership and value, trying to profit from this. How ironic is that he even accepts bids in Bitcoin?
I will be using Bitcoin to inscribe these ordinals, and I will, the auction, and you got to go to the website, right? You should put it up there. I forget, it's the market price website, to you have to register in order to bid, but we are accepting bids in Bitcoin. You can pay for the prints if you submit a winning bid, because only 50 people are going to get a print, right? So you have to be one of the top 50 bidders. Now, of course, if you don't win the print at the auction, you could buy one in the secondary market that may develop. It'll be interesting to see like what happens to these prints after I, float them, right? Somebody can resell. And then of course you could also bid on the original oil painting. That is the one that is on display right now in that art gallery. So anybody that's in the New York area, I think you should put in a bid. I think that painting would look nice in your office there. Anthony, what if nobody wants to buy these prints? Then then that's gonna kind of like, hey, it doesn't even work. Nobody wanted them. So I'm a potential Bitcoin user. It actually has to work. People have to want to buy these. I mean, I don't know. People might want the prints anyway, even if there was no ordinal. But we'll see. We'll see how successful. We'll see what kind of value these ordinals add to these prints, if any. And it'll be interesting for me to watch, because once I sell them, they're gone. Like I don't own any other ones. So there's only 50. I'm not going to inflate the supply, right? I'm not going to make 51, 52, 53. So once I sell them, I don't own them anymore. So it'll be interesting to see, what happens to them in the market, and to the extent that, these ordinals add any value.
What do you think? If haters adopt the technology, is this a good thing for Bitcoin? Is this the start of a paradigm shift that will take Bitcoin to mass adoption? Or doesn't it matter because it will win no matter what? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to see more curated daily crypto videos like this, please leave a like and subscribe. Thanks.